Hello there, welcome back to this video series all about Theme A as part of the Religious Studies GCSE. We're looking at relationships and families, and specifically today we're looking at contraception and family planning. Today we're going to understand what contraception is, we're going to look at some different types, and we're going to explain different Christian responses to these two things. What do you need to know? You need to know that contraception allows people to have sex without the consequence of getting pregnant. Now, some Christians welcome contraception to support responsible family planning, whereas others see it as a sin to disconnect procreation with sex. We're going to have a look for ourselves right now. And just to point out, there's a wealth of information out there all about contraception, different types, but today we're thinking of a Christian overview of it. What do the ethics say, Christian ethics say about contraception as a whole? So we've looked at this in previous lessons together. The three key aspects of sex for Christians. Number one, the idea that sex should be done as a part of a marriage. Number two, that sex brings two people together with a special bond. And number three, that sex should be open to starting new life, open to bringing babies into the world. So what happens when one of those three things is taken away? And today we're thinking about the procreation element. So what contraception is it prevents pregnancy from taking place. So let's look at some different types of contraception as we get started. You could group different contraceptive methods into three categories. Those categories would be artificial methods of contraception, natural methods, and permanent methods. And different believers from different backgrounds have different views about these three things. Let's have a look at some of the individual types. So if you have a look at these on the screen, some of these you might have heard of, some of these haven't. If you want to pause here and try and match them up with one of these different categories, that would be a really good thing to do. Otherwise, we'll just talk through them in a minute. All right, let's have a look at these now then. So first up, this idea of a barrier method. It is what it sounds like. It's an artificial barrier that stops the sperm from getting to the egg. So something like a condom or a diaphragm, something physical, artificial that's put in to stop that from occurring. Another artificial method that we see up there would be the pill. That's something that a woman would take every single day, and it affects their woman's hormones, and it stops eggs from being able to develop and pregnancy to occur. There's also the morning after pill. Lots of students get these two mixed up. The pill is taken every day. The morning after pill can be taken up to 72 hours after sex. And if an egg has become fertilized, it will stop it from connecting and stop it from developing any further. If we look at some of the other methods on here, we've got two natural methods written up on the slide here. Number one is the withdrawal method. It is what it sounds like. It's when the man withdraws from sex before ejaculation occurs to stop pregnancy from occurring. There's also the rhythm method. Now what that means is that there are certain days of the month where a woman can get pregnant, and there's certain days where they can't, or it's very unlikely they can. And so a couple who are following the rhythm method, they will just have sex on the days where it's very low chance of them getting pregnant. Now, none of these methods are 100% successful all the time. Lots of people support the use of condoms because not only do they stop pregnancy from occurring, unwanted pregnancy from occurring, they also can stop the spread of some STDs as well. So there's reasons to support, as usual with these videos in our GCSE. Some Christians support contraception and some people oppose it. Some of the reasons to support it are that it helps responsible family planning. It might be that in the UK, finances are tight. For example, you only want to have a certain amount of children financially until you won't be able to support them anymore. So some people would say it's responsible to limit the amount of children you have. It might not be financial support. Some might say you'd struggle to emotionally support all of your children, and therefore to be sensible with the amount of children that you're going to have, to be responsible. Some people also would say that sex isn't just about making babies. It's not just about procreation. It's also about strengthening a special bond between two married people. And contraception allows couples to have sex without that consequence, so they can focus on having a stronger bond. Also, some people argue that contraception is a great use of doctors' God-given skills, that God allowed doctors to come up with these artificial methods to allow it to occur, and therefore they should be used inside of principles that allow that. Some churches have come forward to say they're supportive of contraception in some circumstances, like the Anglican Church say that they would support contraceptive use as long as the other principles regarding sex are followed. There's also lots of Christians and some denominations who oppose contraception. For example, some Christians say that, the first command given in the Bible is to go forth and increase in number, to be fruitful and multiply, and it stops Christians from following that command. It also separates the act of sex from procreation. This is what the Catholic Church say, that you shouldn't separate those two things, and contraception is doing exactly that. You could also argue that every child is a gift from God and he is in charge of who is born. And so some Christians would say you should just have your married life, enjoy coming together in sexual union, and if God wants to, he will bless you with children if and when he wants you to. And so not to stress about trying to control that element. Finally, there's what's called the sin of Onan. Onan was a man in the Bible whose brother was married. His brother was called He was married to Tamar. Was killed, and so Onan had to marry his brother's widow. However, rather than having sex with her to impregnate her, to help her fulfill her role in that culture at that time, he decided instead to spill his semen on the ground. And because of that, it says that because of the wicked thing that he had done, God ended his life. He killed him. So some Christians and also Jews would say there is an issue with wasting semen or using contraception that's going to prevent that from happening. Other Christians, they wouldn't agree with that, and they'd say actually the sin of Onan was being selfish. He was thinking of himself and his own needs rather than that of a woman who was vulnerable, and in that culture at that time needing to become pregnant to fulfill her role in their culture and their society. So as usual, guys, some questions for you to have a go at yourself. Pause it here, have a go at these, guys. Have a go at these before you see the answers. But when you're ready, push play, and we'll look at the answers together. All right, so some answers for you. So contraception is preventing pregnancy from occurring. It's something that is done to prevent pregnancy occurring during sex. Natural contraception differs from artificial contraception because artificial contraception is using things that are man-made, things like condoms and the pill, whereas natural contraception just involves the rhythm method, looking at the time of the month, or using just natural ways of stopping the pregnancy from occurring. Why do some Christians disagree with contraception? Well, some say you shouldn't separate the act of sex from procreation. They're two sides of the same coin and they shouldn't be separated. However, some think, number 3, it should be used for responsible family planning. Now, number 4, why is the morning after pill opposed by some Christians? The reason for that is because if the egg has become fertilized, it can stop it from developing further. Now, some Christians, for example, Catholics, they believe that life begins at conception. And so that is a life in their mind. And the morning after pill is going to end that life. Other Christians would say it's only a potential life at that point, and they wouldn't have a problem with the morning after pill, depending on the context. Do some extension there for yourself. Really have a look at which denominations support contraception, which oppose it. We talked about the Catholic Church on one side. You'll find the Anglicans and the Baptists have a more positive outlook on contraception, but worth looking into for yourself. That brings us to the end of our lesson. And so what do you need to know? You need to know today that contraception allows people to have sex without the consequence of getting pregnant. Some Christians welcome contraception to support responsible family planning. Others see it as a sin to disconnect procreation with sex. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you haven't yet, please drop me a like and a subscribe. I would appreciate that. More videos coming your way.